guys, welcome to the sixth session. In this session, we'll discuss various nuances of brand management. We'll understand what a brand actually is, and we will wrap up this session with the understanding of how to name a brand for any product or any service that you're selling. Brand management is basically a function of marketing that makes use of strategies and techniques to analyze and plan how the brand is perceived in the market. It also aims to increase the overall perceived value of the brand in the long run and build a loyal customer base through positive brand associations. The main aim of brand management is to build, measure, and control brand equity, making a brand to have its own value, which, when associated with the product, increases its overall value, both monetary and non monetary. Brand management forms a subset of marketing management and it deals with the overall brand development right from the birth of the brand until the time it ceases to exist. It involves identifying the ideal target market, understanding what motivates them to choose one product over the other, and positioning the brand in the same domain. Developing an ideal brand message which resonates both with the needs of the target market with the value proposition of the offering is one of the important subdomain of brand management. Communicating the brand promise to customers by making use of almost every possible touch point, making efforts to build brand equity and measure it from time to time. It's important to manage the brand architecture and make sure the sub brand structure and communication line, the master brand structure and communication policies, building the brand identity and making sure it aligns with the brand image in the market, handling brand communication in the market, anticipating and accommodating new brand identity needs, building brand trust from designing to making the branding strategy and to advertisements and marketing of the brand. Everything comes under the domain of brand management. I've been a brand manager myself, and from my experience, I can tell you that the day in, day out job of a brand manager is to build a brand that customers look up to when they go for shopping. Brand management is just like raising a kid. It's just that the decisions for the kid in the form of the brand are made by the parents even when the kid grows up. Let's try to understand what a brand actually is. We can imagine our products as a small kid who does not have a name, who does not have any identity, and we give this kid a name, which is our brand name, and this kid grows up to a man, and the man has a persona, the man has his own identity. There's an image that man has created for himself. People have a perception for that man. That man has a value, be it moral or otherwise. There's a maturity. The man has grown from a kid to a mature person. And then people start to recognize that person with that persona, with that identity, and they try to associate themselves with them. Brand also works in a similar fashion. There's a name, there's a brand persona, there's a brand identity, brand image. Customer perceive brand as something. The brand has a value in the market, the brand has a maturity, and recognition is something that a brand attains when, with the years of hard work, with the years of continuity, and when the recognition is very high in the market, the brand equity is considered to be very high for that brand. Brand equity is the measure of brand, and we'll learn that in the upcoming sessions. So basically, we anthropologize a product to make it into a brand, and the brand can be considered as a living entity, as a breathing entity, which behaves almost as a human. However, it is important to understand that a brand is just a perception of a company, product, or an individual. It is intangible because you cannot see, feel, or touch a brand. It is intangible but defined by tangible elements. Tangible elements like brand name, brand logo, things which can be seen, which can be touched. Simply put, a brand is a feeling evoked by a business or a product. The way people feel about a company, about a product, is how they associate themselves with the product. But because product itself does not have the kind of maturity and the identity that a brand has, therefore people tend to associate themselves with the brand more often, and therefore a brand is just a feeling evoked by a business or a product. Does a brand have commercial value? See, you see four logos on your screen right now. The first one is of Apple, second is Google, third is Amazon, and fourth is Visa. And the combined value of these four brands is more than 1200 billion US dollars. When I say the combined value, this value does not mean the value of the assets. It does not mean the value of the buildings or the furniture or the wirings or the servers or the cards or the money that they have. This value is how a product would be considered more important or can be monetized better in the market when it will have the logo of one of these brands. A mobile phone with an Apple logo can be sold for 70 to 80,000 in India, while a phone with similar features, similar quality, but with a lower perceived brand can be sold for 10 to 12,000 also. This is the power of the brand, and this is the commercial power of the brand. But again, what is the brand exactly? In case of Apple, is the brand the phones, the computers, or the watches that the Apple produces? No, they are just the products. Is the brand the advertisements, the posters, or the content that the Apple creates? No, that's just marketing. Then, what is the brand? A brand is a combination of superior product quality, service leadership, and very high customer trust, which leads to a high brand recognition or a high company recognition in the market, and years of continuity in doing this combination. Everything combined makes a brand. Now, a brand is defined with its brand compass. The brand compass is a summary of the most fundamental truths about your brand. Is the outcome of the work done in the brand strategy phase, including research and positioning. A brand compass shows the direction your brand is headed and why. It is essentially made up of five parts: purpose, vision, mission, values, and strategic objectives. Before creating a brand, you should be very clear about these five factors that the brand would be based on. Now let's try to understand the types of brand names and what goes into naming a brand. A brand name is something which reinforces the most important benefit to the brand's target customers. It is the first identifiable, tangible element which is associated with the brand. A brand name should be attractive, it should have competitive advantage, it may have an emotional meaning. The communicative potential of a brand name should be very high. It should be very identifiable in the market. People should be easily able to associate themselves with the name. The brand name should be a very important element of the brand architecture, and therefore it should meet all the requirements of the brand compass also. The brand name should be easy to pronounce. It should adapt to the culture of the country or the region where the branding or the brand would reach. Also, in terms of legal requirements, the brand should satisfy the trademark law of the country. The trademark or the name should be available because all businesses are online these days. And if you need to make a website using the brand name, a URL of the brand should be available. These are some of the types of the brand name which are generally used in the market and by the companies. The types of names can be descriptive, evocative, invented, lexical, acronym, geographical, and on the name of the founder. Let's see the example of each. The three most used types naming is evocative. Evocative is a name which attracts immediately the customer's attention. Acronym is an abbreviation of a larger name, for example, IBM, HP, HCL. Descriptive is which totally describes the business. For example, eMart. For example, Radio Taxi. For example, FM 98.3. The other types of brand names are, for example, invented. Invented brand name is when the brand name which you're using is actually not a word, but a new invented word. For example, Oyo. Oyo does not mean anything in English language, but it's a brand name. Lexical brand names rely on wordplay for their memorability. Puns, phrases, compound words, alliteration, misspellings, and foreign words are all style of this popular naming type. For example, Coca-Cola, Dunkin' Donuts, Burger King. In case of geographical naming, the geographical region of the brand or the product from where it originates or where the brand would reach is used. For example, Bikaner wala. In the founder branding, the name of the brand is exactly the name of the founder. For example, Tata. Now let's try to understand the various steps which go into while naming a brand. And the first one is to develop a brand strategy. You should not name a brand until you develop your brand strategy clearly. How can you know if you're choosing the right brand name if you don't know what the brand's unique value proposition, brand promise, and strategic direction are? So the first goal and the first step to name a brand is to develop a very clear, a very well defined brand strategy. The second step is to research the market. When I say research the market, it means researching the competitors as well as consumers. You need to fully understand your market before you can create an effective brand name. Do your research and learn what brand names your competitors are using and how consumers feel about those brand names. Identify gaps and opportunities and develop a brand name that fills those gaps and leverage those opportunities. The third step is to identify your message. Once you understand what already exists in your market from your competitors and what consumers want from brands in the market, you can refine your brand position. Use that position along with your brand promise to develop the best brand name possible. Furthermore, identify your brand's unique personality and create a brand name to match it. The next step is to brainstorm. Gather your team together and start brainstorming. There are no bad ideas this early in the process, so go for quantity at this point of time. Even the most off the wall idea should be accepted and not judged. Look at your brand from all the angles, focus on each benefit, consider all audiences, and make that list as long as you can. Be sure to include consumers and unbiased third parties in your brainstorming process if possible. The next step is to create a short list. Use that long brainstorming list to develop possible brand names and narrow that list of possible brand names down to 10-20 of the best. Make sure the shortlist of the brand names you create includes the names that can last through market changes, brand extensions, geographic expansions, trends, and so on. You should create a brand name that can stand the test of time because you never know where the world, the market, consumers, competitors, or you could go in years to come. Once you have a short list, the next logical step is to search for trademark and domain name availability. Research the availability of each of the brand names on your shortlist for trademarking. You don't want to launch a brand and receive a cease and desist letter a few months later telling you that someone else already owns that trademark, so you have to stop using it. Also, check for domain name availability. While it's very possible that the exact domain name for your brand name won't be available, you need to know early if there are no acceptable alternatives available. After this, create a shorter list. Based on the trademark and domain name research, shorten your brand name shortlist even further. Try to narrow it down to 5-10 of the best options. With these options, test your marketing mockups. Create a logo, advertisement, business card, and package mockups using the brand names on your shortened shortlist. Make sure each brand name looks good visually and sounds good when spoken out loud. A brand name might sound great on a shortlist, but when you put in a radio ad or a package design, it might not work at all. Also remember to test your mockups through consumer research. Find out what choices resonate well with your target audience and which do not. Through this testing, you should be able to determine which brand names are the best, which need tweaking, and which need to be tossed immediately. It's also possible that the testing phase will teach you that you need to go back to the drawing board and come up with a completely different brand name. Being a brand manager myself, I understand the kind of research that goes into while developing a brand name. Fortunately, I had an experience of creating a new brand for the company that I used to work in, and it was a 6 month process to coming up with the brand name itself. A lot of iterations go into bringing up a name with the trademark searching, with the URL searching, with the consumer research, how they pronounce the name, is the pronunciation very clear to them? Would they be able to associate the name with the businesses that they are into? Would the name resonate with the kind of product that you are selling? Would the name actually represent the product that it has to represent in the market? Once you are really clear about everything, we'll go for the rollout. Once you settle on a brand name, launch it and use it consistently across all customer touchpoints. Be sure to conduct ongoing research and monitoring to ensure your brand name is well received. In the upcoming sessions, we'll understand more about brand management and we'll learn about brand logo, brand association, brand identity, brand trust, brand equity, and how to measure brand performance in the market. Till then, please come up with a brand name. Consider it a very important exercise in this ongoing program and use all these steps to come up with a very good brand name which we'll be using in our further assignments also. That's all for this session. Thank you.